I've been pretty emotional this week. Not emotional because I lost anything. Emotional because I keep reminding myself that 12 June is exactly 20 years since Ghana showed up on the big stage that is called the Football World Cup. It was a beautiful day in the German city of Hanover. Ghana had struggled without success to qualify for the FIFA World Cup, and on in a qualifier that took the Black Stars to venues like Praia in Cape Verde, Johannesburg, to Soccer City, to Kinshasa, to play against GR in one of the most cracking atmospheres you would ever see, to venues such as Ouagadougou, where the Black Stars lost their first game in qualifying, to Kampala, where they lost to Uganda, but to the Babayara Sports Stadium that became the cathedral, the venue, the place where enemies fell, and opponents couldn't just muster any resistance to this incredible wave that proved to be the Black Stars on its journey to the 2006 World Cup. But it's also a week where I've been reminded by the incredible leadership of somebody like Stephen Appiah, the guy who took the team and insisted on locals and home-based players and foreign-based players being treated same, the guy who just didn't lead in terms of how he looked, but he just a guy who led, not in terms of what he said, but in his actions, but by in putting people first, by constantly getting onto that football pitch when Ghana played, as he did against South Africa in Johannesburg, and scoring a goal, as he did against Congo DR in Cape Verde, by insisting, telling his players, this atmosphere will test you, we've got to be ready, or by coming up with the goals when we needed against Burkina, against Uganda, by setting up the goals, and there is the guy who set up the goal against Czech Republic. And for me, that's why the World Cup tends to evoke a lot of memories in my mind. So as I thought of 20 years, I thought maybe I need to come up with 20 years that sums up the 20 incredible moments as far as Ghana and the World Cup is concerned. Remember, this was 20 years ago, 2006, in Germany. Fitting that it was in Germany as well, a country with a strong Ghanaian community, a country with strong football ties to Ghana and the rest. So for me, the incredible moment starts from there. It starts from that day when the Black Stars stepped out onto the pitch, when the Ghanaian national anthem rang, when, as they do, they walked out with the red, gold, green flag of the Black Stars when they walked out onto the pitch that day. That for me was the first big moment. Stephen Appiah tearing up, the players almost water-eyed as the national anthem played. Those of us in the stands, myself included, heavily emotional as he did. The great Kwabena Yeboah said he was just very emotional that day because he felt so happy. It was like a lifelong dream had been settled. So it didn't matter that the Black Stars lost to Italy that day. We all took it on the chin and we went back to the team base in Wolfsburg and happily just continued with our lives. Then, as everybody contemplated what will happen in the game against Czech Republic, because Czech Republic were ranked number 2 in the world, Ghana arrived in the city of Cologne, very sure, very confident, and within the first 90 seconds, Asamoah Gyan scored a cracking goal. Stephen Appiah traps the ball, looks up, plays a beautiful pass into Gyan, traps it with his right foot, shoots with his left, past one of the best goalkeepers in the world, Petr Cech, who had signed for big money for Chelsea at the time from Stade Rennes. It was a goal that summed up the quality of the Ghana midfield, but the quality of Gyan as well. He will go on to score many, many, many more, 5 more, in the history of the World Cup. So that for me was one of the things. But before the Gyan goal, there had been another moment that sort of highlighted how the World Cup can literally unmask players and theirs. So Sammy Kufuor going into that World Cup was as high profile as anybody. He was coming towards the end of his career, and ACN was a bit like the new kid on the block, but Kufuor was that guy. He had been reluctantly reinstated into the Black Stars. The coach was not very happy. Kufuor started against Italy, and I think he played really well. But as Ghana chased an equalizer, Kufuor attempts to play a back pass, misplaces the ball, underhits it basically, and Vincenzo Ianquinta latches onto that, and Italy scored 2-0. So that Gyan goal undid that really well. But after that Gyan goal, Ghana then completely dominated. Stanjan missed the penalty. And but later he set up Suleiman Tari, who then takes one look up, smashes a beautiful left foot shot to the left hand side of Petr Cech. So for me, those two goals sums up, really, really good day. But I think we also saw something that's become part of Ghana's World Cup history. The incredible Stephen Appiah and ASEAN partnership. It was important that they were friends in real life, and on the pitch, they knew what to do. Appiah providing the guile, the skills, the capacity to drop that shoulder, to find that incredible pass. ASEAN with the brawn, with the energy, with the box-to-box energy, with the crunching tackles, but also with the beautiful passes. The guy who could drop into left back, who could drop into right back, the guy who could step back into the centre back position and dictate affairs, the guy who made Ghana almost unplayable on many, many days. So for me, that partnership is really an important one. And then I think 2006, it is understandable why 2006 provides a lot of the memories. Beating the USA was so important. It was so good. So for me, that goes into the top 20 moments. But in addition to beating the USA was the Aminu Dramani goal. Before the Dramani goal, we had become a group of sports journalists who we used to criticize Dramani for fun. And we said Dramani was in there only because he was an agency player and all that. Of course, we were asking questions about how the call-up into the national team needs to be a bit more based on merit and everything. And because a number of players were suspended, including John and a few players, the coach Ratome Dukovic rang the changes and started Dramani. And then Dramani robs Claudio Reyna off the ball halfway into the American half, goes on a run, and shoots past, I think it was... this giant American goalkeeper, I've forgotten. But he finished superbly. And in the stands, all we could tell ourselves was, Aminu Dramani, the guy we sat on shows and ripped into, set Ghana off, the US equalizes, and then Ghana gets a penalty, Stephen Appiah standing there. An absolute picture of concentration. Doesn't look at the goalkeeper, I think it was Casey Keller, doesn't look at him, just keeps looking at the crowd, looking at the referee. And Appiah said he didn't want to make eye contact at all. Then he steps forward, 1-2, bang on, 2-1 Ghana halftime. Second half, the Black Stars defended for their lives. John Mensah, monumental. Sheila Eliasu, great. And Ghana went into the next stage of the competition. I mean, it was great. It was great. First time of asking at the World Cup, the Black Stars had qualified from the group stage. 2 wins. And this was why the 2 wins were incredible. There were 2 wins. All the opponents that Ghana played against were ranked in the top 10 in world football. And the Black Stars did what a lot of people didn't think they could do at that moment. So maybe a lot of lessons in that for the current team who are heavily underestimated and all that. But if 2006 was good, 2010 was even better. And again, Ghana had to perform a rescue act for the continent. Remember, it was Africa's World Cup. South Africa 1-1 against Mexico. But by the time Ghana played against Serbia at the Loftus Versfeld in Pretoria, no African team had won. So against the soundtrack of the Vuvuzelas, the Ghanaian fans bouncing in the stadium, myself sat in commentary position, Ghanaian journalists all over, Milovan Raiva, Kwesi Appiah on the bench. This Ghana team against a Serbia team that had top players on their own. They were a bit like the Czech Republic of the 2006 World Cup. And everybody said, you're going to play against Serbia. It will be difficult. But this was a Serbia team with Ivanovic, with some really good players, good high-profile players, Kuzmanovic and the rest. And the game went on, I think it was about the 84th minute. And Kuzmanovic handled the effort by Kevin Prince Boateng. Upstepped Asamoah Gyan. Until then, he had scored Ghana's first World Cup goal. He steps up and then he smashed a beautiful effort to the right side of the goalkeeper. 1-0 Ghana. That's how it ended. The Black Stars won Africa's first game in the 2010 World Cup. And it was something that lived with us. The next moment that for me caught my attention really was the Germany versus Ghana game. But that for completely non-footballing reasons. So Ghana had made a decision to take Kevin Prince Boateng to the World Cup. And at the time, the subject of players who could have played for one country but have switched to another was beginning to gain grounds a lot. So this was Kevin Prince Boateng, who was playing for Ghana, but his brother was playing for Germany, Jerome Boateng. And his brother was like a really big boy, top defender with Bayern Munich. And the whole build-up surrounded those two. It surrounded them. And you could sit there imagining how their father, I think Prince Boateng, would have felt. You know, the two boys he birthed in Berlin went on to become great footballers, and they were meeting on the world stage. I remember the handshake. I think they were trying to avoid eye contact, but it was one of the most beautiful stories of that competition. These days, brothers on opposite sides in major tournaments is becoming normal, and in the current Ghana squad, there's Derek Lucasen and there's Brian Broby. Any of that stars get to meet Holland at any point. It could be Lucasen, the defender, facing up to his brother. So that story has become a key thing. It's Inaki Williams and Nico Williams. That story is another story as well. So for me, that was the thing. And then I think the other moment, my 12 big moment, was the Django versus the USA. But it was also just the historic nature of it. One, the quality of the goal. Dede Ayew hoops the ball up. John is bodied by, I think it was J.D. Merritt or Bocanegra, one of them. He's almost falling over. It's literally falling over. He picks himself up and then hits an absolutely stunning volley past Tim Howard. 2-1 Ghana. By then, Kevin Prince Boateng had gone on a mazy run after he had been set up by John. Went on a run through midfield and then, bam, scored. And 2-1 Ghana. But this was why it was important. It was only the third time in the history of the Football World Cup that an African team had won a game in the round of 16 at the World Cup. In effect, Ghana had joined Cameroon and Uruguay and Senegal, who were quarterfinalists in 2002, as the only African teams to reach the last 8. And you would have thought that we were going to take it one step further. We should have taken it one step further, which is why maybe the Uruguay moment will never disappear in the memories from any Ghanaian, but also marks maybe the saddest day in Ghana football, because we were one kick away from getting to the semi-final of the World Cup, long before Morocco would have done it. The Black Stars played well. They dominated that game. Suleiman Tari scored a cracking goal. Diego Forlan equalized with a wonderful free kick. Ghana had chances. Jan went close. Eddie should have scored, but Suarez plugged it out. Jan had scored 2 out of 2 from the penalty spot, and he had, on the most important day, he missed one. I will never forget that. So that for me was the thing. But if the 2010 was the moment we came of age, I think 2014 was the period we chose to undo a lot of the good that we had done in that period. In the first game, the US got revenge over us 2-1. The Dede Ayew scored the first of his 3 World Cup goals to date. A beautiful header to make it 1-1. Then the Jan show began to settle. What Dede and Jan scored in what I call the Fortaleza Classic. Ghana 2, Germany 2, and I call it the Fortaleza Classic for a reason. Everybody after the game against the USA said the Black Stars will not thrive. And they were up against Germany, who had beaten Ghana 1-0 in the 2010 competition. They scored first as well, so that made it even more difficult. But there was, I think, a cross from the right. Was it Iris Enafo? And then who connects the header? Dede Ayew. Powerful header past Manuel Neuer. Then Suleiman Tari traps the ball and plays a stunning pass through to Asamoah Gyan. Takes one touch to open up the angle, and then hits a really good effort past Manuel Neuer. It's a shame Ghana couldn't hold on. But that game was later described by the FIFA Technical Committee as one of the best games of the World Cup. The attacking, the defending, the quality of midfield play. It was really brilliant. And that was why, but that goal that Jan scored, and then the next one that he scored in the game against Portugal, you know, the assist by the Trekista assist by Kodjo Asamoah, the Jan header made Jan the top scoring African in the history of the World Cup. You know, and that for me was really good. 6 goals, more goals than Eto'o at the World Cup, more goals than Drogba, more goals than the great Roger Milla. That's something that you can put value on. But all the the gains in that game in Brasilia when Jan scored had been undone even before the game started by the money shame. The flying of the per diem and allowances to Germany, to Brazil, the fact that it was captured on TV, Ghana and the Black Stars became this team that was playing for money rather than playing for glory and national pride. It was the ultimate day of shame for Ghana in the history of the World Cup. And all of us have to hope it never ever happens again. So for me, 16th. We didn't qualify for 2018. But in 2022, Ghana qualified and then a new hero emerged. Mohamed Kudus. Mohamed Kudus. In the first game against Portugal, I think Dede Ayew scored. And then Osman Bukari, but that was also Dede's, I think, his third goal in the history of the World Cup for Ghana. Then in the South Korea game, Kudus decided to, quote, a tired, boring cliche will come to the party. First, he heads a really sweet move in from Jordan Ayew to complete a move that involved about more than 20 passes involving the Ghana team. Ball is crossed. He knocks that ball in. Then again, I think it was Gideon Mensah who hits a really low ball from there when South Korea had recovered to take the game to 2-2. Iñaki Williams completely hits an air shot. The ball falls to Kudus. And with the greatest of composure, timing, finishing, he places that ball into the net to win Ghana the game by 3-2. A star was born, which is a shame that this star will not be at this World Cup because Jesus, how good he is. It's a real shame. Now, Ghana then needed to beat Uruguay in the revenge that never was. Andre Ayew missing the penalties, the Black Stars looking nervous. It was a sign that sometimes don't focus on the opponent, focus on yourself in the Ghana-Uruguay game. But also, when you cannot talk about the best Ghana moments without talking about the fans. Every time Ghana has gone to the World Cup, the Ghanaian fans have made it an absolute party. The color, the intensity, the music, the vibe in the stands, the face painting, the singing, the drumming, the dancing, the fact that they travel all over the world. If there's any MVP for the Black Stars, as far as the World Cup is concerned, it has to be the fans. And I like that Ghana's World Cup history is also replete with the contribution of locals. Kwesi Appiah was assistant in 2010, Salas Tete assistant in 2008. Sheila Iliasu came in the game against Czech Republic while he was playing home-based football and was brilliant. So was Habib. In 2014, it was Coach Kwesi Appiah who was the coach. And in 2022, Otto Addo was the man in charge. Otto Addo qualified Ghana for the 2026 World Cup. So whilst Ghana's World Cup history is known as much for the immense and immeasurable contribution of Milovan Rajevac in 2010, Ratume Djukovic in 2006, Carlos Queiroz will take charge in 2026. This is also a competition where home-based talent as coach, as players and others have stepped up and said, this is our own, we'll make it count.